daily dose of and advice. Now, I do want to let you know that every day I do record some special shorts, little videos and montages and videos that basically are designed to give you one or two little thoughts. Here I am, however, chatting with you because there's some things on my mind today that I'd like to share with you. Now, of course, you and I both know that we are living in a very interesting time. I mean, all you have to do is go to the news daily. And I have to admit that the U.S. administration down south is certainly been colorful. There's a good word. And may agree or you may disagree with the administration. But the simple fact is, they're certainly making things very interesting these days. So the question is, how do you react to the chaos and the confusion, the urgent and the crisis that we're dealing with on a daily, a daily basis? So yeah, you have to have what I would call a calm disposition. There's an old adage that goes simply like this: when everybody is losing their head around you, don't lose yours. You know, calmness and sereneness comes from the inside out. When you know that all things are going to work together for good. You know, the Apostle Paul quoted these words in Romans 8:28. He said, "All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose." Years ago, I was doing a study with a guy named Porter Barrington. And he basically said this, and it was something that I've never forgotten. It says, all things work together for good. Doesn't mean all things are, good, but how we react to it is absolutely essential. I was listening yesterday when I was driving around the city, and I was listening to a guy named Charles Stanley. And in that particular presentation, Charles was reminding us that the real issue is forgiveness. He said, for us who know the Lord, it's not an option. And actually, and I never thought I was going to talk about forgiveness this morning, but it really is quite foundational to bringing about that peace that many people are looking for. A lot of people will say to me, well, you don't know what they did to me. You're right. I didn't know what they did to you, but I know what you're doing right now to them. And when we walk in unforgiveness, you know what happens? We are making the people that we are, not forgiving to have power over us. Think about that for just a moment. There are people that I know that are in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and they still haven't forgiven. They were hurt in some capacity, usually by some authority figure. It could be a mom or dad. It could be a member of their family. It could be a boss. It could be a religious leader. It could be someone that they looked up to and were betrayed, and they just haven't let it go. And they're able to suppress it for a certain period of time. They're able to shove it down, but sooner or later, it manifests. And where it really manifests is later on in life. It can become a health issue. A little while ago, I was chatting with somebody, and they were talking about, how their health was declining. And I asked them a very simple question. Have you forgiven everybody? And they said, well, no. I said, why don't you forgive today and see how your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health, and your physical health may improve? Well, you know what they did? They did forgive. And a little while later, they said, I feel so much better in every area. You see, when you and I suppress negative emotions of abuse and trauma, and don't release them, they can affect us in so many areas. unforgiveness is something that can actually damage your life for the rest of your life. I have met people who have, near the end of their lives have said, I have this unforgiveness in my heart. And I always encourage people, listen, it doesn't matter what they've done, forgive them. And then I use this illustration to them to kind of get the point across. When Jesus Christ was hanging on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Now, here's a reality that I have discovered over the years, and that is this, that 90% of the people who have hurt and offended you don't even know that they're doing it. And also as well, if you tell them, they would be shocked. They would say, I didn't realize that I did that. And most times they apologize. But you know what the problem is? We assume that people know what they did. And most times they don't. Now, there are people out there that are selfish. There are people out there that are manipulative. There are people out there that are narcissistic. I understand that. And some people are deliberately hurtful. But you know what? Let's not do that. Let us forgive. Let us release those things. You know what? It was Peter who said this in 1 Peter 5:7. He says, cast all your cares on him, for he cares for you. Now, you and I, we have a decision to make today. Are you going to continue to carry those things in your lives? Now, here's a very important point. If you are walking in unforgiveness, it becomes a root of bitterness. And I happen to wear glasses. Now, if I put my glasses on right now, it allows me to see a little bit more clearly. But the reality of the situation is the unforgiveness leads to bitterness, and bitterness will eventually colorize your entire world. You will see people in a certain manner and certain mode. And you don't want to do that. You want to have clear vision. You want to have calmness. You want to have serene. You want to have peace. That's what you want. So the first thing you need to do is let go of the unforgiveness. When I was listening to Charles Stanley yesterday, he said, what about people who have passed on? And a lot of people say, well, this person is, gone. So how can I do that? Well, I love the illustration that he used. He says, look, put two chairs together. And he says, talk to them. They're not there. I understand that. He says, this is an exercise. And he says, talk to them exactly as you would have had a real conversation. And then say, I forgive you. And he said, that is an incredible impetus to release people. He says, I have done that over and over. This is Charles Stanley. He said, I've done this over and over with people. They said, you're crazy. He says, try it. And they tried it. And after they had done this, after they had, said to that person who's gone, okay, that person's not there, but it's the exercise. And the relief on their face, the peace on their face. I did this years ago with a young man who had come to me. And I said, listen, let's go through this exercise. I said, I will be that person. Can you see that? He says, okay, I'll try. And he gave his speech. And then he said, I forgive you. The relief on his face was absolutely magnificent. All of a sudden, he says, it's gone. The burden is gone. The hurt is gone. So my simple exhortation to you today is simply this. If you want calmness, if you want peace, if you want sereneness, if you want to release love, then forgive. I don't know. Maybe you don't have anybody, but maybe you do. Do this little exercise today. Get alone and set a chair across. And then talk to that person. If the opportunity comes, and if they're still around, make an effort today to forgive them. It's not a matter for their benefit. It's a matter for your benefit. And really, I think each and every one of us deserves peace. But when you hold on to unforgiveness, you're not allowing that peace to come. So It's just a little thought for you today. Well, if you do like what you're hearing and seeing, of course, I encourage you to press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My name is Robert Dean Steele. Thank you for joining me today. And like I said, I have a whole bunch of short, little pithy sayings and vignettes and snapshots that you can look at as well. You have yourself a great and godly day.